There's an alarming financial crisis spreading through communities in every corner of America. From our largest cities to our smallest towns and villages, the American taxpayer is under siege. Hardworking families already struggling to make ends meet are facing heartbreaking increases in their property taxes, skyrocketing income taxes, and a crippling onslaught of user fees on every imaginable product or service. State governments and local municipalities are facing financial difficulties of their own and are responding the only way they know how, with more taxes. We can all work together to help ease this crisis if we're committed to eliminating a major part of the problem: wasted tax dollars. And we don't have to look far to find the waste. It seems to be spiraling out of control, often with little concern from some elected officials. While some of our leaders choose to ignore the problem, there's a growing level of resentment simmering beneath the surface of the issue. Many taxpayers are demanding leadership and action now.
I'm tapped out on taxes. Everywhere I turn, I'm getting nailed for more. And honestly, I'm tired of denying things for my family just to pay more in taxes.
I know that taxes fund government and community services. I get that, but I really resent my tax dollars being wasted.
It makes me furious. They're my tax dollars. They're wasting my money. I mean, come on, can't they do the job right the first time?
So what's the solution? We can begin by applying some basic common sense. By doing things right the first time and focusing on providing greater taxpayer value. A good place to start eliminating the waste is on public projects funded by taxpayer dollars, such as schools, roads, and libraries. This can be achieved with a responsible bidding ordinance. It's no secret that taxpayer value soars when a community has a responsible bidding ordinance. It's a resolution adopted into a public body's procurement codes that specifies certain criteria a contractor must meet in order to be eligible to perform work on behalf of that community. Simple things like assuring that contractors have the proper business registrations, show past compliance with environmental, labor, and safety laws, have relevant insurance coverage, prevailing wage compliance, and apprenticeship and training participation. It can go a long way in assuring the financial and structural success of publicly funded projects. The responsible bidding concept also takes steps to help protect communities from low bidders who may not be as professional as we wish them to be. Without a responsible bidding ordinance, taxpayer-funded projects are automatically awarded to the lowest bidder. With a responsible bidding ordinance, communities reserve the right to award projects to the lowest responsible bidder. Why is that important? While most contractors play by the rules, some don't. Countless violations occur every day, from wage violations to poor job training to unsafe working conditions. The result may be shoddy workmanship, which requires the job to be performed all over again at taxpayer cost, or job site accidents and injuries that may result in expensive lawsuits to the public body, who then pass the cost of the lawsuits on to the taxpayer. This creates more waste, costs more money, and offers less taxpayer value.
I think that when it comes to responsible bidding ordinances, they make a lot of sense, and once people understand what it is they do and what it is they don't do, municipalities are adopting them in increasing numbers these days. All it really does is require contractors follow the laws that are already in place, make sure that we have good, safe working conditions and well-trained workers. All of that leads to great value for the taxpayer.
As a public official, this isn't my money, it's the taxpayer's money, and my job is to get the most value. I think a responsible bidding ordinance gives me a good shot at getting the most value for my taxpayers.
In the state of Illinois, we've required responsible bidding ordinances whenever you're using state dollars, because we know that those standards will be in place where the folks who are working on the job are appropriately trained, that the contractors you're dealing with are legitimate, that they're not giving you lowball offers and trucking in, people who aren't trained from other states to do work. We know that our money will be spent appropriately.
Well, obviously the concept that we're trying to get to here is a training program. Everyone's in favor of a training program, but the question is, exactly what does a training program mean? The U.S. Department of Labor provides us with standards that are accepted, that are recognized across the nation as minimal levels of training.
The Department of Labor requires 144 hours in the classroom, 2,000 hours on the job training. Typically 6,000 hours are required by most trades. Almost anybody, even me, can learn a job in 6,000 hours.
Well, oftentimes I think the inclination of a municipality or even an individual homeowner is to go with the lowest bid, period, the end. Sometimes it's a mistake to look only at the bottom line. There's other things you need to look at. You need to look at if the contractor has well-trained workers who can complete the job to the level you expect it to be done. Whether or not that contractor is going to have safe workers, not only because it's important that people not get hurt, but that we don't have downtime from the project, that we don't end up with a lawsuit that costs even more money. So there are other factors that we as individuals consider when we're making a decision about who to hire, and consequently it makes sense for our municipalities to use other criteria as well.
If you go to somebody that doesn't know how to repair your Ford truck and fixes your Ford truck and hands you a bill for it and says, okay, now your Ford truck is repaired, but he doesn't know how to do that, doesn't know how to repair the truck, and you've got to take it to another dealership or someplace else next week, what have you gained? You haven't gained anything. You don't have the use of your truck. You have to pay more money. And you should have gone to the right place at the right time, but you tried to save a few dollars. It hurts the taxpayer because, especially in a public building, you're talking about tax dollars that build libraries, build schools, and that's the money that comes out of the pocket of any person that contributes to property tax.
If they're trained safely, they won't get hurt in the first place and they won't be going to the hospital. The people that pay the bill typically are the taxpayers. They're paying it through work comp, or they're paying it through their tax base that covers the emergency rooms. Somehow or other, the taxpayers are going to pay for that. Why wouldn't we all want our workers as safe as possible? Why wouldn't everyone want to be able to? You ought to be able to go to work in this country. You ought to be able to go to work and go home that night to your family without being injured or killed.
Besides providing greater taxpayer value, the overall economic loss to a community without a responsible bidding ordinance can be enormous.
This whole thing is people need to make more money so that they can not just live day to day. They need to be able to make enough money so that they can buy the homes and the cars and all the things that we've all come to take for granted. If you work for less and less dollars on the job, you're just getting by, and just getting by isn't how this country got where it is.
Adopting a responsible bidding ordinance is one of the easiest, most simple solutions a community can do to stop wasting tax dollars. There's no downside to saving tax money. There's no downside to on-the-job safety. There's no downside to having workers who are better trained and receive proper wages. There's no downside to keeping more disposable income circulating within the community. It helps working families maintain and to improve their lives.
Having a responsible bidding ordinance in your municipality doesn't eliminate taxes. It eliminates wasted tax dollars and helps our local economies thrive. It puts workers on the job site who are better trained and who have successfully completed their respective apprenticeship programs, some with over 6,000 hours of on-the-job training and over 150 hours annually in the classroom. These apprenticeship programs often require continuous education, resulting in the most highly skilled and trained men and women working on taxpayer-funded projects in our hometowns. Inaction is a taxpayer's #1 enemy. To learn more about how a responsible bidding ordinance can stop wasting your community's tax dollars, visit iiiffc.org and click on Responsible Bidding. We can help you respond to the American taxpayer's growing demand for leadership, action, and greater taxpayer value.